Hey. All right, now I'm just gonna hop right into it. I ain't even gonna talk about it. We're doing James Baldwin today. The funny looking black dude that be speaking some good shit. Like he funny looking, like he real funny looking, but he definitely like be speaking that knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what to do. Subscribe, turn on the post, smash that like button. You know all that good stuff you do. And listen, if you are suffering from depression right now, no one cares, so just go outside. You know, you might as well, because no one cares that you're suffering through depression. Just don't jump off a building, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the worst way to die, because you going to think about it all the way up to the ground, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just do something, like, quick. You know what I'm saying? That you ain't got to think about, you know? And don't use a blick either, because I heard that some people miss. And you'll think about that every day for the rest of your life. You a failure at everything, even suicide. Yeah, I'm just let's go. Let's hop right into that video. Alright, let's do Baldwin.
Tuesday will mark 55 years since two of America's most
55 years
intellectuals faced off in a debate in England at Cambridge University's debating society, the Cambridge Union. It was a debate about race. One that still fascinates and resonates today and is the subject of a new book. NewsHour Weekend Zachary Green has our story.
Okay.
The trouble in America where the Negro community is concerned is a very complicated one.
Okay.
It comes as a great shock to discover that the country, which is your birthplace, and to which you owe your life and your identity, has not in its whole system of reality evolved any place for you.
On the evening of February 18th, 1965, two cultural giants, James Baldwin and William F. Buckley Jr., squared off in person for the first time. More than 50 years later, the debate still resonates. Political science professor Nicholas Buccola of Linfield College in Oregon was so taken with the skirmish that he wrote a book about it. The Fire is Upon Us.
It just seemed to me just such a dramatic moment and such an important one. These two movements that did so much to define 20th century political history, to have these two figures clashing was just irresistible.
Though Baldwin and Buckley were about the same age, their lives could not have begun more differently. Baldwin grew up in poverty in Harlem and went from waiting tables in New York's Greenwich Village to become a literary critic and eventually a renowned novelist and essayist. Buckley, a scion of wealth, graduated from Yale and became an influential magazine editor and columnist. Both wrote extensively about race in 1950s and 60s America, though from drastically different points of view. Buckley made his position clear in a 1957 National Review piece called Why the South Must Prevail, in which he contended that white Southerners are entitled to, quote, take such measures as are necessary to prevail politically and culturally over black citizens.
And Buckley says explicitly that they have this right and duty because they are, and this is a quote, for the time being, the advanced race. And he calls on people in the South, they have an obligation to promote the cultural equality of black people, and that eventually they need to allow them in to empower them with full citizenship.
What did Baldwin think was at the heart of the racial divide in America?
What Baldwin said from some of his earliest writings on this is that these people are scared. Their identity is wrapped up in this idea that their whiteness is what gives them their only source of moral worth in the world. It's what gives them value in the world. And Baldwin says that is an extraordinarily sad moral life that person is leading. That is the thing they are clinging to give them a sense of meaning.
Think about it. He just dropped a gem. Race is completely woven. It's so woven within the fabric of society, it don't even make sense. And we think it's logical when we talk about it amongst each other. Like, I think this is funny, right? Because the audience are coming up be intellectual, so we can talk. We can talk. When people see me, right, they see biracial. But when I tell them that both my parents are black, the conversation ends, right? When I see certain people, like certain other cultures, like Jamaicans, Haitians, when I see some of them I think are biracial because of their skin color. But like when you get to know them, you're like, oh wait, nah, both of their parents are black. But it's like we didn't base everything off race until the 1400s, until the Portuguese came over and did what they did. Prior to that, we were based off nationality. So when you discuss race and nationality, it just gets so confusing. It's if you really think deep about it, it's confusing, and it's very, very pseudo. It's pseudo. Like, how do you even tell whose race is what? How would we give reparations? How would we really do it if you really think about it? Because technically, there are white people that would get it too, right? But isn't that fair or not fair? Because did they suffer through the same things that many of black Americans suffered for centuries in this country and still seem to do to this day on certain occasions? Race is just a frustrating conversation that I wish we could just move out of society because it's pseudo anyway. But saying all that to say, Baldwin in his time was saying that identity of race is so wrapped up within the whites that it's almost dangerous in a way, right? That's powerful because I wonder if it can reverse. That's where I'm going with this. I wonder if it can reverse. Like, could it be dangerous on the other end? Like, where at a certain point, race is so woven up that one day blacks, we take power and we kind of enact the same thing on them. I don't think we would, because we've had 400 years and we ain't done nothing. But I don't know. There's some angry black people, man. Angry. All right, but let's go.
Buckley interviewed members of Cambridge University's debating society, the Cambridge Union, who were present at the 1965 debate. They said the union agreed to let Baldwin appear as part of a publicity tour for one of his books, as long as another guest challenged him on one of the themes of his writings. They ultimately invited Buckley, who accepted.
From all sides of the House,
The motion debated was this: the American dream is at the expense of the American Negro.
Good evening.
Baldwin starts his speech with this idea that we can't even begin reflecting on the moral and political questions at hand without first addressing this question of what is one's system of reality.
The Mississippi or the Alabama sheriff, who really does believe when he's facing a Negro boy or girl, that this woman, this man, this child must be insane to attack the system to which he owes his entire identity. Of course, for such a person, the proposition of which we're trying to discuss here tonight does not exist.
There's this one kind of remarkable point in the speech where Baldwin suddenly shifts from speaking in the second person to speaking in the first person.
I am stating very seriously, and this is not an overstatement, that I fixed the cotton, and I carried its market, and I built the railroad under someone else's whip for nothing. For nothing.
What do you think his purpose was in making this shift? Baldwin wants to call on everyone watching that debate to recognize that white supremacy is not something in the past. It's something that's central to all of our lives, and that we are all in some sense complicit in it, and we all have a responsibility to fight back against it. And he talks about the ways in which the moral lives of white people have been destroyed by this plague called color.
No matter what disaster overtakes them, they have one enormous knowledge and consolation, which is like a heavenly revelation. At least they are not black. Now I suggest that of all the terrible things that can happen to a human being, that is one of the worst. I suggest that what has happened to white Southerners is in some ways, after all, much worse than what has happened to Negroes there.
When Baldwin ended his remarks, he received a standing ovation. Then it was Buckley's turn to take the floor.
It is impossible, in my judgment, to deal with the indictment of Mr. Baldwin unless one is prepared to deal with him as a white man.
This is a strange argument for many of us to hear, but here's what Buckley had in mind. For Buckley, part of the experience of being treated as a black person was to not have one's ideas taken seriously. And so Buckley's argument was that I will treat Baldwin as a white man, that for Buckley that meant I will take his ideas seriously, and I will call him out for the ideas that I think are dangerous.
Buckley went on.
So he He had to add him in as a white man. That's not a bad idea. Actually, it's not. If you take your emotions out of it, it's not a bad idea. If he looked at Baldwin as a white man, then maybe he can see him as human. But he couldn't see him as human because he was black. Even though Baldwin's argument was fair and well spoke, that we all play a role in white supremacy. You know what's funny? I notice it like okay, when y'all, I'm gonna get real personal. When I talk to my girl, like when she points out stuff that I say, and I be sitting here like, wait a minute. I did just say that. And like when I think on it, it's like, dang, that was racist as hell. But like, it's like, where is that coming from? Where did I learn that from? You know, living in a society where I've been subjected to things that I have and many of other blacks have been subjected to. And we see it. We see how we're treated when it comes to when we go to work, when we go outside, when we're at the store. We see how we're treated. We see how we're interacted with as if we're a problem already, right? But then like when you're talking to somebody from a totally different area and another culture, you start speaking those things that you yourself want to get away from. It's weird. Like Baldwin has a point. Oh my God, I'm falling in love with this dude. I ain't never even really, like the first video, I ain't gonna lie. When I first reacted to Baldwin, y'all was like, I don't know about this dude because he looked funny. But then like as the videos went on, I'm like, okay, man, this dude's speaking some truth. Like I like this dude. Yeah, this dude making me think. I missed that.
To describe what he saw as the causes of racial inequality in America.
One is the dreadful efforts to perpetuate discrimination by many individual American citizens as a result of their lack of that final and ultimate concern which some people are truly trying to agitate the other. Is as a result of the failure of the Negro community itself to make certain exertions which were made by other minority groups during the American experience.
Buckley is very careful to say there are individual white people, so it's not a collective problem. There are some bad apples out there, and that needs to be addressed. But then he says, really, the central problem is that African Americans aren't taking advantage of the opportunities that are available to them.
Hold on, y'all. I gotta ask. Bad. I got a question, okay?
Yeah.
Do you think that the problem is an individual problem when it comes to racism, or do you think it's this is a stupid question, but I'm gonna ask it differently. I'm gonna ask this question, I'm gonna ask another question. Do you think it's an individual problem when it comes to racism, or do you think it's a systematic problem?
Systematic.
Okay, and by it being systematic, would you blame it more on individuals for it being systematic, or would you say overwhelmingly the majority of people just don't realize they're complicit in it?
I realize people don't realize that they're a part of it, basically.
Boom. So she agrees with Baldwin. Like Baldwin just said, like now I see where the white guy is coming from though. He's saying like, look, we need to address the bad apples, right? But we can't make it an entire group. But if all of us are complicit in it, doesn't it mean that all of us... Baldwin, this is good. I ain't gonna lie. This is good. I ain't gonna lie. I slept on this. I came into this not thinking this is gonna be good, but this is good. This is really good. He's making a real... I never thought about it like that. You know, like there's another guy, I might react to him sooner or later, Francis Fanon. Yeah. But Francis Fanon was a little more violent than James Baldwin. James Baldwin is kind of saying like we just need to attack the problem as a collective, as intellectuals. And this is blowing my mind. I ain't gonna lie.
At the time of the debate in early 1965, the Voting Rights Act had not yet passed, and black people in the South still faced enormous barriers at the ballot box. At one point during Buckley's remarks, an American audience member interjected.
One thing you might do, Mr. Buckley, is let them vote in Mississippi.
I think actually what is wrong in Mississippi, sir, is not that not enough Negroes are voting, but that too many white people are voting.
And I want y'all to keep this in mind. This is 60 years ago. Like, we just got our right to vote 60 years ago, 1965. It's 2025. It's literally 60 years ago. Let me count it up. Yeah. It's literally 60 years ago. That means that you know somebody alive who was racist. I'm watching you white people. I'm just playing. I love y'all. But truth be told, like, this is not that long ago. It bothers me to think about that, man. It says 55 years since this debate, but yeah, this is not that long ago, man. That bothers me to think about. I don't know. Let's keep going.
The audience laughs, but Buckley is deadly serious about this. He's still supporting disenfranchisement of black people, but he's saying, I'll also disenfranchise some white people and leave only a white elite to control the situation in the South. And he's using things like this idea of colorblind constitutionalism as a way to kind of hollow out the accomplishments of the civil rights movement.
At the end of the debate, a vote was taken to determine the winner. Baldwin received 544 votes. Buckley, just 164.
Oh.
But Buckley was far from discouraged.
He says, I am so proud of my performance that night because I did not give them 1 inch. That really captures his creed in a very short slogan, right?
In Bucola's final analysis...
Oh, so he was a racist. Okay. We get it, Buckley. Your name is Buckley. Buckley? What the hell is that? Sounds like bullshit weed.
The divide between
Let's go get some
Baldwin and
Buckley.
Buckley is reflective of the political divide facing Americans even today.
To be a patriot for Buckley meant standing up for the institutions and ideas that you take to be central to the American political experiment, and he viewed his role throughout his life as being somebody who would be a guardian of those ideals against ideas and institutions and groups that he thought were threatening to those ideals. Baldwin says that patriotism requires a constant criticism, a constant reflection on the ways in which we're falling short of our ideals. And to love one's country means that we have to do that together. It's the foundation of morally how we ought to behave, how we ought to live together, and it's the foundation politically of what we need to do as a country to move closer to justice.
Man, that was a good interview. I ain't gonna lie. I like that every second of that, y'all. But hey, y'all, you know what to do. Subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I'm gonna do some more James Baldwin. Baldwin is definitely a very. I'm shocked. I'm coming to him kind of late. Out of all the political people, man, it's you know, as you go along, you learn more about the civil rights leaders, and you keep going. But dang, like I came into him kind of late. But all right, y'all, I'm out. Yawning. Peace. Ooh, bye.